Peace and prosperity in all things in existence. I am Illuminated One, and I'm here to talk to you guys today about my Kundalini experience. It might sound bizarre to some of you, but some of you that have had this experience can probably relate. I was 20 years old. This was 10 years ago. I was 20 years old at the time when this occurred, and what I could feel was a surge of energy. And it felt like it came from my root chakras, and it was going up my spine. And it felt like there was a blockage, at the base of my spine. There was something there preventing the energy to surge throughout my entire body. So eventually, the energy broke free, and I experienced one of the most lucid and out-of-body experiences that I've ever experienced. I hear a lot of people talk about how they have a Kundalini experience and it's negative. Mine was negative also. I saw a lot of things that I couldn't explain at the time, but now that I've matured a little more, I'm starting to understand exactly what they are. And I also had an encounter with what you guys would consider a demon. Now, when I had this experience, I felt the most love, but I also felt the most sorrow, the most fear, the most happy. All emotions, they were intensified by infinity. That's the best way I can describe it. And I ran into this demon, or what appeared to be a shadow figure. It had a face of a woman, but it looked like what we would say the Grim Reaper would look like. I've talked to a couple of mystics, and they said that was an angel of death. So when I was having this experience, this demon or shadow, whatever you want to call it, tried to attack me. So when it tried to attack me, what happened was every single chakra inside of my body lit up, and it left my body. And I could see all the lights from my entire body go above my head and spiral. And so when it spiraled above my head, this figure charged at me. Once this figure got close enough, the lights from my chakras came back down to my body, and I used that force to destroy this figure. There are some books about things like this, and they're saying that you had an encounter with the angel of death, and either someone in your past or someone that you know messed with some pretty dark stuff to conjure that type of entity. And I took it upon myself to destroy it. So after that, I started to see things that I wouldn't normally see. I would have visions, and I have just very odd things. I can't really explain it. And then I would also see cloud formations of stairs, and it'd just be a set of stairs there. And I asked others, I'm like, hey, do you see that? And they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. I also seen other shadow figures, throughout my life until about 5 years ago. I have opened my third eye, and I have been exposed to a lot of things that are kept hidden from us. And it upsets me because we need to know what these things are. We need to know how complex this environment we live in is. Yeah, it was pretty wild. And, it's still a little foggy because it was 10 years ago. But I also have another experience that I want to share with you guys. And I'm going to put it into this video now. Once you have your Kundalini experience, there is another state of consciousness that you can achieve. Now, this state of consciousness is called the Merkaba state. Now, once you reach the Merkaba state, basically, it's your personal vehicle. It is your route to and your direct connection to your higher self. So, I've had this experience also. Now, this experience happened to me this year. This happened May 30th of this year. Now, the Merkaba is way different, way more vivid, way more exciting than your Kundalini experience. And I'm going to tell you guys what I experienced. It was May 30th of this year. I usually meditate about 3 times a week. So this wasn't like any other day. You know, I really meant this. I really meant that I wanted to meet the creator of creations. You know, with the utmost pure intent, I wanted to meet the creator of creations. There was nothing stopping me. This is what was going to happen. This is what I wanted to happen, and it happened. So I'm going to shed a little light on the creator. But before I bounce to that, I want to tell you guys about my experience. On that night, I lay down in my bed. And I had the most intense pounding sensation. My body pounded so hard that it could be the loudest drum you've ever listened to, and it couldn't compare to that. Like, my body pounded so hard that my bed was literally shaking. My bed was shaking so hard it woke up my child. You know, I got him back to sleep, and I laid down there again and started to meditate. After this happened, it happened for about at least 10, 15 minutes that my body was pounding like this. And then, you know, I kind of glanced up to see my feet. I looked at my feet, and my feet started to burn, but it didn't hurt. You know, and then I heard this sound. It sounded like a boiling sound. And I realized that it was the fluids inside of my body. They were boiling, but it did not hurt. And then all of a sudden, I could see light emitting from my feet. So the light started to travel up my body. First it started at my feet, it went to my legs, then it went to my arms, and then it went to my core. Once it got to my core, I looked at my chest, and it appeared to look like the sun was inside of my body. That's the best way I can describe it. And so I started screaming at the top of my lungs. And I think I woke up everyone in the house. Once it started to travel up my neck, it skipped my mouth and my eyes first, and it went to the top of my head. Now, when it reached the top of my head, I could feel energy emitting from this section, and the base of my head. So once I felt that, I was instantly paralyzed. I was in a state of paralysis when I felt that, and I couldn't move. And it did not hurt or anything, but it was so overwhelming that, you know, it just left me stuck. So what happened was my mouth and my eyes and my nose started to emit light. until I was completely engulfed in light. So after that, I projected. I projected from this physical plane. And it seemed like I was traveling through a void, and I came to this area where it was, the best way I can describe it is a pool, but it wasn't a pool of water. It was a pool of souls. Um, when I glanced down at the plane that we live on, because I'm sorry to burst your bubble, guys, but this earth is flat. It is not a round ball like they tell us. When I glanced down in the center of the earth, there was this thing. It looked like a tree, but it had faces on it, and it was made of pure light. And we are all connected to this tree. And so my description of it, what I call it, is the deity with a million faces. And I will get into that in a later video with you guys. But once I set eyes upon that, it said to me, a voice said to me, this is my core. And, it resonated with me for a little bit, and I thought about it, and I had an aha moment. I was like, okay, that must be the tree of life. So I surpassed all that. I traveled through the void. And when I came to this pool looking thing, all the souls from, I guess, previous beings, animals, insects, everything, were coming back to this one area. The best way to describe it is what the scientists have, what they describe as a black hole. That's what it looks like. And so I just kept advancing further and further. I got to that point, and then I moved on. Once I moved on, I turned around and I observed what was happening. I saw the thought process manifesting into matter. I saw past, present, and future. It was all intertwined, and it all moved together. I saw the deconstruction and reconstruction of everything in existence instantaneously. I kept traveling further and further, and once I got to a certain point, the voice I heard was like, "You now are the observer," and so I was in a state of observing the observer. Now, a lot of religions teach that, there's the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. I'm picking on Christianity right now. Sorry. That's not true. Okay. The creator of creations lives within us, but the dominant essence of the creator is feminine. You have to look at it as something beyond a human. We cannot put the creator into a human construct. Only the traits. That's the only way you can describe it. It is way more complex than what people think. And it's so difficult to explain. And I came to the conclusion that maybe it's not meant for man to understand as we are now. But when we become spiritually enlightened, you will understand exactly what I'm saying. So once I traveled further and I was observing the observer, I observed all things in existence and how everything was created and how it was destroyed. Well, technically nothing's ever destroyed. It's just transformed. And how, it was just the flow of energy, the natural flow of things. And everything that we are experiencing here is a man-made construct. When I observed that, there was no laws, except it flowed in harmony. But everything collided and it was destructive, but it all flowed together. It was supposed to do that. And so my description of what the cosmos are, or what the universe is beautiful chaos. That's the only way I can explain it. I wish I can paint a better picture for you guys, but I can't. It was so overwhelming. The feelings, just everything. Everything was intensified. It was intensified by affinity compared to my Kundalini experience. And so once I observed the observer, I knew what the true gender, or whatever you want to call it, was. But you have to look at it this way. You can't have one without the other. And people tend to separate themselves, and we all label ourselves. And with that very thing, that's what separates us from the actual reality. And the light is secondary to the darkness. Everything originated from the darkness. If you think about it, when you're born, you're inside a womb in darkness for 9 months. Then you come out of the womb. Okay, it gets really deep. And I'm going to share everything that I know and I've been exposed to in a series of videos with you guys. But hopefully, this makes you guys want to try to, meditate and get closer to oneness. I want you guys to achieve that, because once you do that, you will understand everything. Because once I was exposed to this and set eyes upon things, I'd instantly ask a question, and I instantly had an answer. And it just everything, everything you can think of. And what was so wonderful about it was the love from it. It was like the softest blanket, like the most passionate kiss. It was everything. And I had this experience, and once the next day occurred, I do not remember sleeping. And I was in this state for 3 days. I did not eat. I did not drink anything. I did not have the urge. And I was like, I felt like I was, maybe you could say I was zombified. But I was still able to complete my daily tasks and everything like that. The second day was more of me seeking out others and helping others with spiritual problems. And the third day was more like, I know we're new age, so you guys can relate. It was more like me downloading information, hours upon hours. I was in a state of paralysis, and I was basically downloading information. And all the information was a frequency. It was a vibrational frequency. And, I'm still trying to decipher a lot of it, but I'm getting better. As time progresses, I'm starting to unlock a lot of things. And I would really like to go live and answer any questions that you guys may have. But once again, I'm Illuminated One, and I just wanted to share with you my Kundalini experience and my Merkaba experience. If you guys have any additional questions, just leave it in the comments below.